Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage. This is a Citroën CX GTi. You might have a hard time believing this, but this is actually one of my dream cars. I think the Citroën CX is maybe on a shared first place of the best looking Citroëns ever, together with the SM. It's hard to ignore how beautiful the SM is. But this one is all the way up there. I like it more than the DS. And in my world, this is the proper big old school Citroën. It has always been on my bucket list. Suddenly this one popped up pretty cheap. As almost always, I bought this unseen. I hadn't even seen a picture of it. It was delivered to me. Got it for around 500 euros, which is pretty cheap in my country at least. It's actually really cheap, but of course it could be a complete basket case. I knew nothing about it. The only thing I knew was the color and the interior color, because that's a bit special. I was always trying to find the Turbo 2 because horsepowers. This one is the GTi. Even though the Turbo 2 is a really quick car, this is not, in my opinion, a fast car. It's a cruiser. Maybe it's all right with just 2.5 GTi engine. The other thing is that the GTi badge doesn't really fit this car, in my opinion. GTi, in my world, is really connected together with hot hatches, small hatchback cars with big power outputs. This one is not that. It's a gigantic car, in my opinion. It's not a hatchback. And yeah, the GTi badge is just a little bit weird on this one. But the trim level on this car, the setup and the story, which I don't really know, but paperwork is sometimes telling a lot of stories. And this car is a bit special. And yes, I know I got a lot of projects going on at the moment, and one more is actually standing right behind the building. I'm gonna introduce that a bit later. Then my plans in my world is something that you're trying to follow, but it's not necessarily a bad thing when you don't follow the exact route. But my plan is to not buy that many projects in the future and start fixing up all the cars. But it's really difficult to me when all these really nice cars, at least in theory, pops up. So I had to give this a go. But I don't think I will be fixing up this anytime soon. Like many of the others, it will just go to the storage facility, and then I will pick them one by one and fixing them up. That's the plan, at least. I am a bit surprised about this one actually, because as I told you, it was bought sight unseen, and I was expecting to get a car completely rotted out. It seems to be pretty rusty, but actually not that bad. I was expecting to make a will it run video, but this one just fires up. It drives, it brakes. Even the suspension is working, which is a big surprise. And the funny thing about this car, in my opinion, is it's been imported to Denmark in 2005, I think it was. Then it was MOT'd for a couple of years and then taken off the road. At the point where this car was imported to Denmark, it had 310,000 kilometers on the clock, I think it was. Now it got 393,000 kilometers on the clock. This car is from Switzerland, and you can actually see the service history in the booklet, and it shows that this car was bought in 1989 and then was just driven for so many kilometers per year. It's just, of course I don't know who the first owner was, but it was a person who just maybe got in this car a couple of times a week and then just drove all day long. And that's showing a pretty interesting thing, because when I first got this car, I thought that the speedometer maybe was changed or faulty, because 400,000 kilometers on a Citroën. I can't even remember seeing a non-diesel Citroën having that many kilometers on the clock. But what is really weird is that the interior is in pretty good condition. Maybe the CX, or it is, I can feel that the quality in the CX is a lot better than any other Citroëns that I have been working on. Maybe except the XM, which is also up there. But the wear on this is really not bad. There's not a lot of wear on the steering wheel. The brake pedal rubber for the brake pedal, for instance, is like new almost. and it's just not showing the story of a 400,000 kilometer car. And also it doesn't show any signs of restoration. So it is a bit of a puzzle for me why that is, and also why the engine is working and working rather nicely, because 400,000 kilometers on a petrol engine is a lot. I might never know the real story about this car, but what I do know is that I want to save this because of the fact that it got so many kilometers on the clock and still seems to be working pretty nice. And then this interior. I love this interior, and I don't know if it's rare, but I haven't seen it myself before. It is this tan leather stuff, real wood trims on the doors, and it got air conditioning. Also, it's really highly spec'd. It got a little lamp here, map lamp. It's really fun to think that this car is from 1989, of course. The XM is from 1991. So there's 2 years between this and the XM, but a complete world of difference in the way it's built and done. But of course, this is an old model. 89 was one of the last, maybe even the last one. It is surprising me a lot, this project. But there are so many cool details about the XM that I just love. And I'm gonna bring you in and show you all the funny quirks and stuff. As you can see, we got 393 kilometers on the clock. Pretty surprisingly. Take a look at the pedals down there, which is very often a good indication about the wear, but these are not showing 400,000 kilometers in my opinion. Maybe they have been changed. Maybe the first owner drove in bare feet or something like that. It's pretty impressive. And then this is a proper Citroën, a lot more eccentric than the BX models. We got the indicator up here. You have to press that when you indicate. It's not self-canceling, so that's maybe a bit annoying, but everything can be reached from the steering wheel. We got high beam flash right there, light switch right there. Even got an alarm for that. Over here we got windscreen washer, horn and wiper. No wiper on the rear. And why is that? Because the Citroën got aerodynamic things that makes the rear windscreen completely dry when you're driving in the wet. And then we got the air condition unit. That's also pretty cool. Then we've got some rooms up here with some plastic flaps that has broken off. All of them are there, luckily, but it needs to be fixed, of course. Up there we got a digital system showing some stuff, engine temperature, or coolant temperature, and other stuff. Then we got the gearbox, or the gear selector here, 5-speed. Then we've got a radio full of breadcrumbs, if you are the kind of guy who eats on the go. Handbrake, blanking plugs for extra equipment. Maybe an ashtray. No, not an ashtray. I actually don't really know what this is. It looks like some kind of jacks, actually, once again. Maybe it's a police car. It's just a nice interior. And the glove compartment right there. Rust protection remover. So this car has most likely gotten some rust protection, which is nice. I don't know what this is, some kind of key fob thingy. And we've got a sunroof, which is pretty much the biggest problem of this car, because yeah, I'm gonna show you the exterior in a bit. But it's pretty cool. It's electric sunroof with lights and all that, and look at the leather. It's really awesome. And in the rear you got these sun visors for the sides, and the wood trim on the door, and the pistol grip door opening mechanism. The door lock is up here, adjustable side mirrors, electric windows, a speaker in the door. This car is really highly spec'd in my opinion. And there's the big surprising thing about this car, let me show you that, is that we can just turn the key. And it fires up. And then being a Citroën, we got some adjustment for the ride height, electronically controlled on this one. It's actually analog on the BX and also on the XM as far as I can see. Not sure about that though. But take a look at this. Put it into normal ride height and it will rise up at one point whenever it feels like it. There we go. It's going up. At least the front end is going up. Well, the rear. The rear seems to be a bit slow, but let's try to put it in high. Oh yeah, the rear is coming along as well. Woo! I think the front end is higher than it is supposed to, or the rear is lower than it's supposed to, but that's most likely a matter of adjustment. But this is amazing for a car that has been standing for so many years. And being a Citroen, it seems to be really well maintained, this car, even though it's not looking that way on the outside. Got engine temperature up there, can you see it? That's also pretty damn cool. It's a coolant temperature, of course. Everything else is not working. But let's take a look at the exterior. So let's just start at the business end of things. Take a look at this mechanism. And then we got this 2.5 petrol engine. If you have followed my C25 series with my diesel camper van, the 4x4, you will notice that this engine is looking pretty much exactly the same, at least the basic part of the engine. So I think it's the same basic block that they made into a diesel. It at least looked that way. It got the same horror show of a belt situation down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 belts on this side. And then most likely there is also a belt down there. Then there is a big room for the spare wheel, which is missing. And the famous spheres on each side. I don't really know what this is, but I think it has something to do with the emission, a charcoal canister most likely. We got a engine management box right there, and yeah, basic stuff, some of it. This is the air condition pump. This over there is a hydraulic pump. This is the water pump, the generator, and that is pretty much it. The hydraulic pump is pretty important on a Citroen because it's the one that makes the car go up in the air. It's the one that makes the car brake. It's the one that makes the car steer. And it's an important thing. It's low on LHM, I can see. Again, yes, it looks a bit worn out here, but 400,000 kilometers. It looks pretty damn decent. Considering that, I think that one is stuck. It also looks alrightish down there. A bit of rust on the oil cap though. But hopefully nothing is too bad there. Of course it's rust that is my main concern. And it doesn't seem too bad down here on the strut towers. That looks alright. I don't really know where these rusts, but I do know they are a semi-monocoque and chassis kind of setup with a small chassis thingy that is bolted onto the car with some rubber bushings in between. They can be a problem area. I'm going to try to rise it up in the air in a bit to take a look underneath. I haven't really tried that yet, but that could be interesting because that is of course what makes it or breaks it. The rest of the car is in the paint is in pretty poor condition, but I think it could be polished up. Rust wise, it's actually pretty decent. In the exterior, nothing too bad. In the sills in here, looking really well actually. Same around this area. I think we got some rust underneath the plastic bit, and maybe some rust there. But not too bad either. And we got a bit of rust right there. And and this is one of the bits that I really like. Take a look at the rear window. of the windscreen going down like that. It's really a work of art. This should make the air fly over it and take the water with it, so it doesn't get wet when you're driving in the rain. And then the boot, the rear boot, is really in poor condition underneath here. In here we got 2 tires, which is the original ones. You might notice that the tires out here are steel rims, but over here it's the real aluminum one. And we seem to get, and I think we got all 4 of those lying around, 2 of them here and 1 in the rear of the car. So that's nice. It's also looking pretty decent down here. That's so nice. On the other side, it's pretty much the same. Some rust right there, which is hard to ignore. But it's the same story otherwise. And then we've got one of the rims as well. And the amazing, but kind of smelling interior. It needs a proper clean. But the biggest problem on the exterior, in my opinion, so far, is a new theme of this channel, because I got a couple of cars with this. The other one standing behind the building got the same, but rusty roofs. It's going to be a challenge. The inner wheel arches seems a little bit rusty, but it's not that bad either. Let's try to start it up and put it up in the air and see if I can see anything underneath it. Before trying to go underneath here, I'm just gonna well, scratch that. I'm not going underneath this. The problem with the hydraulic Citroën is now it's really high, and in theory I could crawl underneath there now. The problem is that if something happens to the system that controls the ride height or the suspension itself, and the pressure drops, it will just drop to the floor like like having no suspension, and it will crush and it will most likely kill you. So going underneath the Citroën is not something you should do unless you have some kind of prop keeping it up in case of a failure. Never trust a Citroën hydraulic. Not with your life at least. So I'm just gonna stick the camera underneath there and see what we can see. And you will actually be able to see more than I am. I can see the viewfinder on the camera, which is pretty cool. So I can also see something. It looks actually pretty decent. Let's try to take a peep underneath here. That's the chassis frame thing I was talking about. That got some rubbers on top of it to connect it to the actual body. But wow, it is not looking, there's some rust there maybe, but it's not looking that bad. It's actually looking pretty decent. There's something hanging down over there, but it looks to be one of the better projects so far, at least, rust-wise, which is a really big surprise. Yeah, this is a big surprise. It's really looking way better than expected. This could turn out to be the best buy that I have done in quite a while. I think it looks to be the hanger that has let go and is hanging down up there. Wow, what a big surprise. So this is a pretty cool project. I'm really optimistic about it actually. I think it's way better than I was expecting. When I saw it, I thought, especially since it got number plates on it, it turns out to be some collector who made his own plates for just to show what kind of model it is and so on. It is a Danish model. It is imported to Denmark. so I'm not having any problems with that. I was, at first glance, it really looked rough, but actually I think a lot of it is due to sun damage on the paint. This project is not as bad as I thought, that's for sure, especially not for that price. It's a good price, it's really nice. So I have no plans when I will start fixing this up. I got all the other projects, and actually my first plan was just to put this in the storage facility and not tell you guys about it, because I feel I'm flooding you a little bit with projects, but it feels like cheating not to just tell you what I got. And yeah, who knows what will happen with this in the future, but it's a proper cool car. I can't wait to park it next to the Saab Commander over there, because it will look awesome and really 80s. So that's nice. Stay tuned for the next project that I will introduce, and then it's time to start fixing up what I got. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. It's just never gets boring. It's the coolest thing in the whole wide world. Oh, I even forgot to tell you about the Ferrari steering. If I do like this and turn the steering wheel, one thing is I'm already at complete lock, which was only 1.5 turn, I think. And if I let go of the steering wheel, it will just auto center. This car is really something else. See you in the next one.